What's going on, though, fam? Back with another video. Hope you guys have been doing well. Today's a massive one. We've had some mass liquidations today, and we're also seeing altcoins absolutely bleed. We're having massive dumps across the board for base chain, as well as our base native token assets we've been covering, such as TOSHI, WMTx token, and especially Alien Base. So I'm going to go and cover you guys through why I really do think these times are the times to really stay in the markets, because I really do think a reversal is about to happen, but we do have some implications for that, because I do think some tokens are actually going to take much longer to recover. But without further ado, I'm Dope Oxide. I make content on YouTube, X, and CoinMarketCap, so be sure to follow these pages, be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. First of all, for liquidations, once again, we hit that $750 million inflection point. We've hit over $1 billion today. So once again, when it comes to these inflection points, generally we do see a bottom play out for that week. And I would not be surprised if we see a relief bounce at the very least, if not a full-on reversal. But I do have some tweets to cover you guys why I do think we're going to have some reversals happening for November. But we may just need more bleeding happen, especially for our based coins and our altcoins. Next up is liquidation heat map. When it comes to the heat map, look, it's looking quite 50-50 on both sides. We're having quite a bit of liquidations getting built up at 105k and the 108k on the lower time frames. When it comes to higher time frames, there is quite a bit of liquidations getting built up way above us at the 111k key region. So really, when it comes to the max pain areas, really max pain right now is to the upside. Generally, the majority is actually shorting the markets, and we can actually see this by looking at the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. I will cover you guys at the end of the video what I think about this, because generally when it comes to extreme fear readings, bottoming formations are occurring, but they do actually take time. So I will do analysis at the end of the video, so be sure to keep watching. But when it comes to the Ethereum charts had an obvious breakdown to lower lows. As you guys can see on the daily time frame, we actually had a new low on the daily close, which obviously means the trend is down. It's very likely we will continue making new lower lows and lower highs. We were waiting for this wedge to break out, and generally wedges do break out to the upside based on probabilities, but obviously we didn't have that. We had that breakdown. We broke down key major support levels, and really it's looking like we're having a back test right now, back testing that key 3.68k level. Let's see where we go, because obviously when it comes to these massive liquidation events, we do expect at least some consolidation, even the real move can occur within the weeks after. When it comes to Bitcoin, Bitcoin also had another little breakdown. But look, when it comes to Bitcoin, Bitcoin actually hasn't made a new lower low on the daily closes just yet. So if I go to the daily, as you guys can see on the daily is technically, you could say, equal low compared to the low we made back in 17th October, where we had that $20 billion liquidation event. It's actually clearly marginally higher, which to be honest doesn't really matter. To me, this is an equal low compared to the 17th of October. And this just shows the strength Bitcoin is gaining amongst our altcoins. So I will show you some analysis when it comes to our base native token assets. But really what we can get out of this is Bitcoin is trending lower, but it technically hasn't made a new lower low yet. So the structure is technically still intact, but I will show you guys the structures when it comes to our altcoins, because the structure has clearly been broken on our altcoins. And when it comes to Turtle3, same thing. We actually had a new daily lower low on the Turtle3, which is of course catered towards our altcoins. We're seeing new lower lows when it comes to Turtle3 chart. We can expect the same for our altcoins. Same goes for our others chart. Others chart had a new lower low, which once again means altcoins are really losing strength against Bitcoin. Next up is the stock market. Stock market is really just surging up ahead, and I really do think we're more than likely going to make a new higher low on our major trend line. Our major trend line sits around the 6.8k level, and really as long as this trend line that has been put in place since May of this year, I do expect the stock market to continue making new high highs and higher lows, and of course all-time highs. Next up is the big one, base native token assets. When it comes to TOSHI had a massive breakdown the past few days. As you guys can see, we've been monitoring this trend line basically being built since the April of this year. And look, when it comes to TOSHI, we had that obvious breakdown. We had a massive red candle today. Really, when it comes to the future of TOSHI and really the future of base chain, because I told you guys multiple times, TOSHI is basically the face of base. It is the number one meme coin, and meme coins have generally done well this bull cycle. So if Toshi doesn't do well, generally that also means base chain isn't doing well. And we can already see that with our smaller token assets. We're really seeing a lot of breakdowns when it comes to across the board for base chain token assets. But specifically for Toshi, yeah, we had that breakdown. And really right now, we can look at current support levels. We can look at momentum on RSIs to really gauge how we're going for Toshi. And when it comes to Toshi and its higher time frames, look, when it comes to the 3-day RSI, some positive news is generally on the 3-day RSI, if we have a retest of its major trend line, that generally means a bottom is put in place just like we had since September. As you guys can see here, in September, we made a low for Toshi that wasn't actually broken. We had marginal higher lows, which is good to see because we also had the same back in April. So we had that higher low on the RSI. And then once that low was made, it didn't get broken down. And we're seeing the same thing happen right now. So let me just zoom in on the 3-day RSI. As you guys can see, third touch, generally a trend line is made after the second touch. So we can assume at the very least for Toshi on the 3-day RSI, a massive impulse is about to happen because generally on the 3-day time frame, they're quite significant moves. And as you guys can see, the last 2 times, it was a very sharp move to the downside and a really nice bounce to the upside. So I do expect the same is to happen. But look, when it comes to our alternative scenarios, we really want to look at that lower time frame. So when it comes to lower time frames, especially on the 12-hour, I'll circle all the times we actually bottomed out on the 12-hour time frame. And really the pattern is every time it's bottomed out, generally that was at least the local bottom, if not the macro bottom for Toshi. And really this just tells us once again, Toshi is probably going to make a higher low here. If you guys haven't already accumulated Toshi, the number one meme coin of base chain, I really do think it probably is a really good spot to bid. Of course, none of this financial advice. This is just my opinion. But just looking at the patterns, this time is not different. Every time we've bottomed out on these RSI levels for Toshi, and because Toshi has been in a bullish structure for so long, we can really look at these data points and really treat them as if they're going to happen because the likelihood, chances of them actually succeeding is very high since the structure has been really kept intact for so long. So really the verdict for Toshi is it's looking strong, but there is some weakness happening, of course, because Bitcoin is breaking down, Ethereum is breaking down, etc. But when it comes to the data points, and the technical analysis for Toshi, it's still very bullish in my opinion, but we have to take in consideration it has broken down from a major trend line that has been put in place since April. I really want this to be a deviation because if this is a deviation, that means the sellers were exhausted, the sellers got forced out of the Toshi market, but that has not been confirmed yet. But with the RSI, there is some confluence that could actually happen, but let's see where we go. As always, time will tell. Next up is, of course, Alien Base. Look, when it comes to Alien Base, it has done a complete breakdown. And really, the next support level I really would like to hold is that major 2-cent region. Look, when it comes to Alien Base, it's basically the embodiment of how Base Chain is performing right now. Base Chain isn't performing well at all for the past 6 months. And we're really just seeing that with Alien Base. In my opinion, Toshi is an outlier. It's being an outlier in my opinion because it's got the top tier 1 exchanges, which really, in my opinion, has really helped Toshi perform for the past 12 months. Whereas on-chain tokens like Alien Base, etc., and anything else really on base chain without a tier 1 listing hasn't performed well at all. It's not to say base chain isn't going to happen. I really do think that base chain will happen and will have at least one more turn for this bull cycle, but we just have to wait for Bitcoin and Ethereum to really break out to all-time highs and really have its turn to the upside. I hope I'm not rambling, but basically the verdict is for base native token assets, they're in really good accumulation areas. Toshi's looking really strong. Alien Base is of course looking very weak, but so is other base native token assets. So when it comes to that, Toshi is the outlier. It's still really strong. When it comes to short-term time frames, I would not be surprised Toshi is the first one to bounce if Bitcoin is to close green for this week. But I do expect other base native token assets like Alien Base to really take its time. And they just really need more time for healthy price structure to kick in. Because of course, when we have massive major breakdowns like this, it does take a lot more time for new holders to come in and really recover the price in the charts. Next up is the Fear and Greed Index. I really wanted to show you guys today because look, we had an extreme fear reading, and this is so significant because the last time we actually had extreme fear reading was around the 10th of April. And if we go back to what Bitcoin was doing back in April of this year, Bitcoin was actually well into the 70k region. The 9th of April, we're actually closing at the 76k region and basically around the 80k region. So what does this tell us? This actually tells us there is a divergence happening. I really do think a massive bottoming formation is happening. But just like I told you guys last video, generally when we have major fearful events, it does take a bit of time to form. So I would not be surprised with this extreme fear reading today, we might have another extreme fear reading where we actually have another marginal lower low. I still don't think Bitcoin 100k is going to get breached, but I would not be surprised that fear and greed really starts increasing to the downside and we maybe have the teens levels of actually readings. Next up is tweets backing up my fear and greed index divergence. Look, when it comes to Bitcoin and the fear and greed index, as you guys can see for Bitcoin specifically, we're actually having higher lows on the daily closes for the past few weeks, even though we're actually having lower lows on the fear and greed index. So what does this tell us? This tells us there is actually a divergence where markets are getting more fearful, but we're actually having higher lows on the Bitcoin price. And generally, this is actually good confluence. More than likely, we're going to see a bottoming formation for Bitcoin. Of course, this is separate to our altcoins. Altcoins are looking completely different. But of course, we really need Bitcoin to break out and actually make new all-time highs to really see some hope and some rotation and inflows into our altcoins. So when it comes to Bitcoin, I really do think that new highs are going to be made for November, but our base native token assets may just need more time. Next and final tweet is by Astronomer. I've showed you guys Astronomer's tweets quite often. His hit rate is actually very high. I've been looking closely at his tweets for pretty much the past 12 months. I can probably count my fingers how many times he's been wrong. It's very low and his hit and success rate has been very high. And this is why I'm actually covering you guys his tweet. So his tweet of the day is 105,000 has been reached and a reversal is in progress. He actually thinks 112k is next for Bitcoin. And just to give some context, he was doing some tweets previously where he would think 105k was getting tapped and he should see a reversal. So looking at his chart, I actually charted this I believe 3 days ago and he did expect 105k region to get tapped, which we actually got today. And he does think a sharp reversal is about to occur for the next few days. And if we do get that, we can see some relief across the board for our base native token assets. So let's see where we go, but really this actually has some strong confluence with what I was saying for the crypto fear and greed index, because usually it takes at least a few days, if not a few weeks, for the bottoming formation to play out. But really what the verdict is that we're more than likely closer to the bottom than we are to the top, and the risk to reward is to the upside. I really do think that shorts are going to be punished for the month of November, and more than likely we're going to see some recovery across the board for all of our token assets. But I hope you guys liked the video. I'm sure everything wasn't exactly what you guys wanted. But of course, we have to look at the facts. And the facts are Ethereum and altcoins are making new lower lows and starting to see some structure breaks. But when it comes to Bitcoin, technically Bitcoin hasn't made a new low. And even if it does, it's still totally fine because it's seeing a lot of bottoming formations and a lot of data points when it comes to fearful markets across the board. And I do expect the month of November is a reversal for Bitcoin. At the very least, a relief bounce, if not a reversal. But let's say we go. I will update you guys on the charts and we'll make you guys videos and keep you guys up to date. But that's all to the video, guys. Hope you guys liked the video. Be sure to like and subscribe and have a good one. Have a good day. Peace.